Hey y'all, welcome to Sketch and Teach Tech. I'm Ryan, an ed tech coach in Texas. If you've been here a while or if you're brand new, you have probably realized that I love sketch notes. I think they are a great way for us to really get information that we're learning to stick in our brains. However, carrying around markers and pens and paper can get really heavy in my backpack because I'm also carrying around a Chromebook and technology on a daily basis. So today we are going to look at a website slash app that we can use on a Chromebook or a laptop to take sketch notes digitally. When using a website or an app to take sketch notes digitally, I think there are three things that are important to look for across any website or app. The first being layers. I think layers are important because that way I can have images on one and text on the other, and I can move them separately from the other. The second thing that I think is important to have is a select tool. I like to be able to circle or lasso a text or a doodle so that I can move it around the screen, because I find that when I'm doing sketch notes, things can get cluttered and I need to resize and move them around to make more space. The third thing I look for digital sketch notes is a way to share what I've done. So when I go to a conference with my coworkers and they want to learn from a session that I went to and they didn't get a chance to, I can share my sketch notes with them. So today we are going to practice our digital sketchnoting skills in an app that has all three of those things that I just listed, and it's Google Canvas. To access Google Canvas, open up a new browser, and in the Omni box at the top, type in Google Canvas. It will be the first link in your search. Or if you're on a Chromebook like I am, you can come down to the lower left-hand corner of your screen and you'll find your apps launcher. Click on the apps launcher and then click the Chrome Canvas app. It will bring you into your home screen or the dashboard for Canvas. From here, you have the option to start a new drawing, which will bring you to a completely blank canvas. Or if you have a template or an image that you would like to use, click New from Image, and that way you can import an image from your device. For this sketch note, I'm going to select New from Image and then select the template that I have created for my digital sketch note. In the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you'll notice you have two buttons. We have our Layers button and then our More Options button. Now, I think it's important to note that in your layers, you do have a small limitation. I have found that it will turn gray, meaning it will not let you add more layers once we hit about 10 layers. So at the beginning of a sketch note, I like to add all of the layers in, and then I can easily delete a layer if I don't use it. The three stacked dots allow me to save my image that I've created to my device, or I can share it with others or send feedback to Google. In the middle at the top, I have my undo and my redo buttons here. So if I accidentally make a mistake or I have a pen stroke, I can delete it or click the undo. If I click this home button in the upper left-hand corner, it will take me back to that dashboard where I started. And then my left-hand menu here, I have my color wheel with the palette that Google has created, or I can create my own custom color that I want to use. Here is where I can also mess with the settings for the pens, the size, and the opacity. The tools that I have are pencil, pen, marker, chalk, and an eraser. I do think it's important to let you know that you cannot import or add other brushes or tools like you can in some apps. When I am taking digital sketch notes, whether I'm on my Chromebook or on my iPad, I use a stylus simply because it has the same feel as my markers or pens on the paper that I use. So if you have a Chromebook like me, make sure that you do your research first because I had to get a specific stylus to match with my Chromebook. My stylus that I use on my iPad won't work. So if you're planning on using a laptop or a Chromebook, make sure that you get the right stylus that's going to work with your device. One thing about Google Canvas is that just like when you're using an iPad or a tablet for drawing, you can use two fingers to pinch in and zoom out on the screen. So I also think it's important to know that when using Google Canvas, if you rest to the side of your palm or your arm on the screen when you write, you're going to get stray marks like you see the ones here. So I zoom in on my canvas so that the section that I'm working on is nice and big. And then I also scoot it down on the screen. So that way I have less of a chance of putting my palm or my arm on the screen and either adding a stray mark or moving the image around. So since we are unable to rest our palms or our arms on the screen, which you probably do when you write naturally, our handwriting probably is not going to be the best. As long as you can read it, it's totally okay. So now that I have my title in, I'm going to work on my layers section. So first, I'm going to click the layers icon in the upper right-hand corner to bring up all of the layers that I can use. And then I'm going to select the next blank layer to start writing on. So just like I did with my title, I'm going to zoom in and scroll down. And then I'm also going to select a different color because I want to add different colors to my different sections. Then I'm going to check that I like the settings of the marker before I begin writing. So the whole reason why I use layers is because I view them as different sections. So for what layers are, I'm going to write different sections in my sketch note. So in this sketch note, I'm looking at what and why. So I have written what layers are to me, and now I'm going to draw this jagged line. So underneath it, I can write why I use them. The whole reason why I like using layers is because they allow me to move different pieces around my screen. So that way I can resize or shift text or icons around my screen so I can make sure all of my information fits. The last thing I'm going to do in this section is add the icon for layers. So I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to change my marker color to black. And I'm going to try really hard to mimic the icon for layers that you see in Google Canvas. So I'm going to start by drawing a black circle, and then I'm going to switch my color to a white and zoom in so I can try and draw the two boxes that they have up in the corner that shows layers. So since this is not my best doodle for a layers icon, I'm just simply going to write layers icon out to the side. Now I'm going to go through the same steps for my next section. I'm going to start by selecting my next blank layer, choosing a different color, and checking the settings for my marker. I'm then going to zoom in as far as I can and scroll down so that way I don't get as many stray marks. To me, the select tool means that you can grab or select different pieces on the screen. Just like with my last section, I'm going to draw the jagged line underneath it to show that separation between the what and the why. So why I think the select tool is important is because I have found that I write really big or I draw too big for the space that I'm in. So being able to select a individual piece on my screen allows me to resize and move those pieces around without having to mess with the entire sketchnote. So again, I'm going to try and replicate the select tool icon that they use in Canvas. So I'm going to draw a nice big black circle, and then I'm actually going to change the size of my marker to fill it in quicker. Then I'm going to change to a white color, and then I'm going to draw 4 arrows that are going in the 4 different directions. So my arrow down, 1 to the right, 1 to the top, and then 1 going to the left. The last thing that I'm going to do for this icon is actually erase some of the circle on the outside just to make the arrows look a little more centered in that black space on the icon. For my last section, I'm going to go through the same steps of selecting the next blank layer and then choosing a different color for my marker. This time I'm actually going to create a custom color, and I want to do something a little more turquoise or teal. And I'm going to check the settings, and then I'm going to start writing what the save and share function does and why it's important. Now, I think save and share what it is pretty self-explanatory. However, I'm still going to write it in. So to save and share means that I can save an image to my device and I can share it with others. So I'm going to add my last little jagged line to show the separation between what and why. And then why I think it's important to be able to save and share is because sharing my learning with others, I think is really important, as well as getting feedback, because that's how I grow as a person. The last icon that I'm going to add into this sketch note is going to be a box with an arrow going out of it to show that sharing. So I'm going to use a black marker and then actually use the eraser to kind of add that gap in the middle so I can go back in and add my arrow going out. So if you notice, the background of my sketch note has these gray and white boxes. I like having those on there because it gives me sort of a guideline to use as I'm writing. This also usually signifies that the background of the image is transparent. If you do not want those grid lines to show on the back of your sketch note, when you're choosing a new drawing or new from image, click new drawing. And now I have the background a specific color, it's white, and I can come into my layers, click on the paint bucket, and I can change this background color to any color that I like instead of having the grid lines in the background. So now that my digital sketchnote is finished, I am going to save it as an image to my computer, to my Chromebook, so I can upload it into my Google Drive and then share it. Or if you have a binder for your school notes or where you want to keep your digital sketch notes, you can then add it to that binder from your drive. So let's look at how to save this as an image to our devices. So in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to click on the 3 stacked dots, and click Save as Image. This is going to download your digital sketchnote to your computer. From here, like I said, you can then upload it into your drive to then share with your friends or add it into a digital binder or a folder in your drive where you're going to keep and organize all of your sketchnotes. So now let's look at some tips and tricks that I have learned through my use of Google Canvas. The first one being have a plan as much as you can. So because we have a limited number of layers in the app, it's good to kind of go in with a plan of how many pieces of information you're going to be writing down and how many you're going to add to different layers. Next, if you notice that your writing is not smooth, that you're actually seeing dots instead of a nice smooth line, that's a pretty good indication that your screen is probably dirty. So grab a screen cleaner or have one near you and wipe down your screen to get any tiny little dust particles or dirt off of your screen, because your stylus is actually picking that up and that's what's causing it to skip instead of creating a nice smooth line. The last tip I have for you guys today is to use that template, because I know I can get pretty layer happy when I'm starting from scratch. And since I have a limited number of layers in Canvas, having that template there gives me a really good idea of my layout and the amount of space that I have so that I don't have to max out my layers. Thank you for spending some time with me today to look at using Google Canvas as a digital sketchnote tool. I hope that this inspires you to use this app a little bit more to create digital sketchnotes. And I hope I'll catch y'all next time.